I'm Great Western, and I...
Quack, quack, quack.
What?
Ye heard? Quack, quack ye go. Sounds like ye'd an egg laid. Now wheesht and let an engine sleep.
What is it about Duck that makes fans love him so much? I just simply don't get it. I'm an avid Thomas fan, downright obsessed in fact, but I have never ever in my life, even as a young child, ever considered Duck to be my favorite character. But for some reason, Duck is infamously the symbol of the Thomas fanbase. You can find his name or likeness in at least half of fans' usernames or profile pics. When Duck appears in an episode, that's all everyone talks about. Even when he's only in a scene that lasts 30 seconds, everyone goes crazy.
Oliver, what are you doing on my track?
Your track? Who says this is your track?
I just don't get it. Now, if you're one of the Duck fanboys that just can't hear anything negative be said about this ever-precious classic character, then you might as well turn off the video now. But before I go on, I want to say this. I don't hate Duck. I don't hate him at all. I know I am notoriously known for hating on Duck, but I really don't. To me, he's just a run-of-the-mill recurring character with a voice that's fun to imitate. And that's all he really is, a recurring character among hundreds. I can't stress it enough that it's not Duck himself that I dislike. It's the undeserved love and treatment he's given endlessly by the fans. Somehow he's held up on a pedestal as one of the main Thomas characters simply because he wears the number 8. In my opinion, if the character wasn't an engine in Season 1, or isn't Emily, they're not a main character. Hell, I struggle with the fact that Toby is still a main character at this point. What kind of main character only appears like twice a season? But that's a discussion for another video. Duck is a fine character in his own merit. He's proud of his heritage, he stands no nonsense, and he has a funny name. But that's all he is. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's all Duck is. There's no extraordinary depth to his character that makes him so endlessly interesting. I go as far to say that a character like Gator is more interesting than Duck, because there is so much about Gator that's left a mystery, and the extremely clever ways they utilized him in his few appearances.
Hello!
Not again.
Duck's hardworking and proud character traits really aren't anything we haven't seen from the likes of Edward or James, and I think the writers know that. All they can do with him really on the show now is have him preach about the Great Western Railway, because that's his only defining character gimmick. It's the only thing that makes him stand out among the rest. That's why Duck comes off as kind of annoying and repetitive in the current show, because they give him such similar dialogue in each appearance, so the kids watching can somehow identify him among the endless, bloated cast of colorful characters.
There's only two ways to do things, Thomas. The Great Western Way and the wrong way. Oh dear! You'd never hear such a noise on the Great Western. There are two ways of doing things, Oliver. The Great Western Way and
The wrong way.
there really are only two ways of doing things. The wrong way or the Great Western Way.
Kill me. Way back in the day when there were like 20 characters total, it worked fine. But nowadays, I just don't see a place for him. And I really think some fans are either blind to this, or they just choose to be. The problem with Duck is just the same as Boba Fett from the Star Wars movies. Boba Fett is such a minor character in the original films. He has like 5 lines total, but he somehow gained a cult following for some unexplained reason, and his ultra popularity has forced writers to shoehorn him in wherever they can, because fan service. And I'm sorry to say, that's just what they've done with Duck in the animated series. I really don't mind if Duck appears like once or twice a season. Here and there is fine, especially when a story calls for him. But when over half his appearances in season 18 are for absolutely no reason that add nothing to the plot, it just comes off as kinda desperate. A desperate attempt by the writers to ensure that old fans keep watching because Duck is back in the show. Why do you think Duck was the very first old character to be brought back in season 17? Yeah, it's cause Mattel absolutely knows how to manipulate the fans. Though I think at this point the team knows they don't have to pull such tricks to earn our trust and our viewership. Duck was not shoehorned really at all in season 19. In fact, I think he only appeared in like one episode and only had a couple lines, and the rest of the time he was just in the background. He's almost been reduced to a cameo bee like Rosie. Now, I don't want them to get rid of him necessarily, but I do think this sort of more subtle treatment works better. It's a lot less in your face, and it makes him seem like he belongs in the universe, as opposed to being forced in. And don't get me wrong here, I'm not against bringing back older characters either, especially when they bring out new story opportunities. Bringing back Bill and Ben was one of the team's best decisions ever.
Careful, Ben!
But there has to be a defining line somewhere between competent writing and shameless fan service. I'd much rather have a competent, well thought out story with good use of characters, whoever they may be, than a pointless scene where fan service characters appear for no reason, other than to provide a desperate little wink wink for fans. I'd like to think we've gotten better than that at this point, but Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure proves me not.
Oh, well, I never! Donald and Douglas! Haven't seen you two around in a while.
Yeah, this scene added a whole lot to the plot, alright. It makes it seem like they're setting up that Duck, Donald, and Douglas are going to have some sort of role in the film, and they just end up doing absolutely nothing at all. And for a good portion of the movie, these characters don't even appear. All this did was just mess with the pacing for me because it didn't add anything story-wise. You could try and say the same thing about Oliver and Toad's scene earlier, but that scene does have a purpose. It explains a plot detail that comes into play later. It's a screenwriting term called setup and payoff. Marion meeting Oliver sets up her plotline, and it pays off later when she concludes that Oliver the engine was somehow magically transformed into Oliver the excavator. There ain't no payoff like that for this scene in the slightest.
Cheerio! Cheerio! Don't leave it so long next time!
I don't even think Duck speaks again after this. But if the wonderfully brilliant Season 19 is anything to go off of, then I think it's safe to assume we'll be getting less and less of these pointless fan service scenes as time goes on. And whether you're a Duck fanboy or not, that is something that this Thomas fan is truly grateful for.